Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Baggage Claim Podcast. I'm your host, Jet Hatu. And today, our topic is one that is spread rampant. It's in the office workplace, it's in the manufacturing workplace, it's in small businesses, it's everywhere. And our topic today is workplace bullying and workplace hazing. It's a huge topic because it's just now becoming a under the microscope, basically. And we do have a special guest today, who we will keep anonymous. But based on her experience at her previous company, she was essentially bullied, harassed, sexually harassed, and abused, hazed. And it has actually developed into complex PTSD. So, workplace bullying and workplace hazing and just people bullying people each other in the workplace is serious. I know I have personally had this experience and I was burned out and I actually turned to silent quitting, which is where you don't feel valued in your previous role anymore and you just burned out to the point that you can't see through the trees and you need the assistance to kind of like take a step back and you silently quit. The things that you went above and beyond for before or not what you're doing now. You want to remove things off of your plate because you just didn't see yourself in that role anymore. And I know that I felt that way. But let's get started and let's talk about this. Initially, workplace bullying is essentially people in the workplace bullying you, but hazing, let me give you this definition real fast. The definition of hazing is considered humiliating and sometimes dangerous initiation rituals in workplace or teams or I mean just between friends sometimes, and especially with it being in the workplace, it can be very detrimental to someone's mental health. So, here's our special guest today. Again, she will remain anonymous, but let's dive into your story. So, tell us a little bit about what happened.
Well, I was hired as the first female department manager at my job, where it was stated that I quote unquote made history. I did not know this when I was interviewing. I was accustomed to pretty much having females in leadership positions from my previous places of employment. So after I accepted the role, that was when it was brought to my attention that I had just done a really big thing, and I didn't quite understand how that role was going to play. So they actually had some people from corporate fly down to just personally shake my hand. I thought it was a bunch of, like BS at first, but no, they really did. They came and said, Miss Chick-fil-A, we're ready. We're so excited that you're here. And it made me feel like, oh, wow, I actually have a purpose. I was hired to help change the culture. And I was like, all right, here we go. I accepted it. And I was ready to help make a difference. So the first couple of weeks, it was a learning experience. Obviously, I'd never worked in a manufacturing role before, and I was the not only first female manager, but the first external hire that was also a female manager. Everyone else had been promoted internally, so they'd all had one-on-ones with, the department that they were going to be running once they got promoted. So they already knew what to do. I didn't know a lot of things there. I came from chicken to construction. So I was given the opportunity to fly out to Alabama, where we visited a couple of plants there. And the first place that we went, like I said, I didn't realize the role that I was playing as a female manager was going to be this big. I got to one of the plants and I was introduced to one of the ladies that worked there. She wasn't a manager or anything, but she did play a specific role in the department that she was running. So she took me to her office and we sat down, and the first thing she said was, I am so happy that you're here. We have been waiting for you. I have been waiting for you. I was thinking I was going to get like some good backstories on the company and how people are treated there, but no, she started crying, ugly tears in front of me. And she said, I have been waiting for you to show up because I'm hoping that you can help me. And when she told me her story, I didn't realize that it was soon going to be mine too, with how I got treated. So I just kind of observed to see how she got treated when running her department and doing what her boss had mandated her to do. And she was right. She got treated like absolute garbage and talked down to her herself, like almost started crying. She had team members crying and wanting to walk out the door as I'm standing there. Keep in mind, this is the first time I've been at a top performing plant, like on the verge to get the President's Cup plant, which is a big deal.
So the pressure is technically on.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
And when I went back to, I forget what his name was, but he was like our tour guide or something like that. And I told him, the DM that I was introduced to started crying, while the other two that I was with were like, oh my God, this guy is so great. This department's so great. I'm like, no, mine started crying in front of me.
And she was female?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Her father had worked there for so many years. So she was kind of like following in his footsteps and was not treated the same way. And she said something about how they were trying to like get her out the door and were writing her up for this, that, and whatever. And when I saw like firsthand what she was talking about, I'm like, oh no, she's not exaggerating. This is real life. And the guy that was giving us the tour from corporate told me to not say anything, like don't piss anybody off. Clearly people don't know me very well because I speak up for things like that, whether you're male or female. If you're getting treated like absolute crap and you start crying in front of me, I take that seriously.
It sounded like they were trying to gaslight, one, her experience, but then two, gaslight you to make sure that you weren't going to say something, so to speak.
Oh, but I did. Yeah, so I did what he recommended. He told me not to upset anybody and, don't, point fingers, which I'm respectful about it. So when we met up with the production manager, who made it very clear that the plant that I worked at would probably never see the President's Cup. He was very cocky and arrogant, which kind of made me want to say a few things about his plant. But he got to me and he asked me, so what did you think? I said, it's very clean here. The end.
That was the only
thing.
That was the only good information.
Only good information. And when I met the assistant production manager, he asked me, so what do you think? I don't know why people cared so much about what I thought. But I turned to him and I said, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to be real. That woman has what it takes, but you don't have her back, and I can tell. Ooh, the look he gave me. And I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but if you want her to perform, she has to trust you. And right now, you don't have her back, and you're letting everybody else walk all over her. Why the hell would she want to perform?
Right.
Why? So I don't know what happened after that. I heard she no longer works for the company, and I really hate that for her. But I guess that was, I don't know if you're like really spiritual now, but I guess that was God's way of foreshadowing how my actual career was going to be there too.
Well, it sounds like you went on this experience and they wanted it to be a positive one, but you just started seeing red flags left and right.
Oh my God, yeah.
What made you continue to work for that company and continue to pursue, employment instead of like really looking into those red flags?
My general manager was adamant about making a difference, about making a change in the culture. And my hour-long interview that was scheduled turned into 3 because we just talked and I heard what his vision was. And like I said, I didn't know how big of a role it was going to be, but he wanted me to bring the Chick-fil-A culture to that plant. he wanted me to bring that quality to that plant.
Mm.
And I don't like to fail. I don't like to give up. But when you have someone that looks so excited that, yes, this is going to work, it was a lot of weight on my shoulders, but I wanted to make him proud.
Mm.
So I didn't want to give up. I'm not a weak person. I'm a very strong person. So in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, he's going to see it eventually.
I can make the change.
Yeah.
I can turn this around. It seemed like those words were kind of motivating to you.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the problem is I'm not the GM of the plant.
Right.
I can only do so much. And
your voice is only heard and it only goes up so much, right?
it's like I said very recently, he's had the ability to make a change. He's chosen not to.
Mm. So you were talking about not giving, or they were not giving you equal opportunity throughout your recent years of employment, and you were having to fight to be treated as an equal based on like how your male colleagues were being treated. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Well, when I first started there, obviously I didn't know a pea wall from a sidewall or anything like that. I didn't know anything about manufacturing. I knew quality, I knew service, I knew inventory. That stuff never changes when you go somewhere else. It's just different materials.
Skill. Yeah, it's a skill.
It's different materials. Customer service, that never changes. Quality, that never changes. How to actually do the operational aspects, that changes everywhere you go.
Right.
But when I first went there, it was a lot of, so what did you guys do at Chick-fil-A? How did you operate? How did you guys communicate there? It was me training them.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. That's great. But I still have a role that I have to do here. And the assistants, production managers, no idea what their role actually is. I don't know what their purpose is because I was told it was to coach and mentor, but I never actually got that. It was me doing it to them.
Mm.
So kudos for making me feel like I had a purpose in that moment, but then it became, I need you to do your job, but I couldn't get them to do that. So the boys that worked there had worked there for years and they were internally promoted into their departments that they worked in. So they knew what to do. They knew the materials. They knew what to look for. I didn't. And that's where they had that advantage. So when I'm asking, I need one-on-one training, walk me through how to build a house, because you have me in a very big department that basically determines the outcome of this plant.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if I don't pull a house out, it makes or breaks the company. Sits a lot on one person that knows nothing about what you're doing. But their mentality was, if you're the leadership that you claim to be, if you're the leader that you claim to be, this shouldn't be that hard for you. Leadership and operational aspects are two different things. I can lead a team to victory, but when you have people that see you standing and not helping, I will sink or swim with my team. If I personally cannot do that and show them that I will ride or die with them to the very end, they're not going to trust that person.
Right.
So when I'm asking to be trained and they say, you don't need to know this, that makes no sense to me. And I constantly kept saying, I don't understand this leadership team, because I didn't understand what I was doing.
Right. Well, and if you are going to be in the trenches with your team and you're going to be helping them, and you need to be knowledgeable at a minimum of the tools. I own a garage door company. Do I get out and install garage doors? No. But I have educated myself to understand what springs are, what struts are, what tracks are, rollers, just so that if someone were to approach me, I know what I'm talking about. But it doesn't sound like they even gave you a handbook to learn it. They were just kind of like sink or swim. It's like they set you up for failure from the very beginning.
They wanted to learn from me, which is great. But like I said, I was still hired to play a part in the creation of these homes. This is not just a house. This is an experience for someone. This is a 15-year mortgage. This might be a leasing opportunity. This might be a business for somebody. And coming from someone that also has sales experience,